I just want to roughly know what I've got. And that's one nice thing about acrylics is I can do this. I can actually just slap big rough globs of paint on, get it looking, you know, approximately this area, that area. With oils, I can kind of do that because I can scrape and wipe out and layer it. With watercolors, With watercolors, I got to know exactly where it's going and plan ahead and do all that organized stuff. Got to be organized for watercolor. So this is a completely different way of working for me to the watercolor that I'm used to. Had to learn everything backwards. Now let's see. Ooh, that's too. Got to adjust the color here. You can't see it, but it's like too teal blue. It's too green. Got too much green in it, so I'm gonna add a little red. Basic color theory. I did not say I was going to add orange, Cat. That is the infamous Sam the Studio Cat who, no, you are not going to play in the water bowl. There, we'll get him out.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah, he.
That's the best, Dave.
He thinks he's part of the process. He's now giving me a very dirty look because I won't let him play. But no cats in the painting. He also really, really loves the dump water game. Anytime he gets to play with dumping water, he just absolutely loves it. So he's miffed at me because I won't let him play that game either. Ooh, that really should have had some, probably should have had some white in it to knock it, you know, grayer, more pastel, but we'll just slap a layer across there. Just to roughly tell me where I want this. And we'll put in a happy little tree over here. No, there's no happy little trees in this painting. No trees. What the? Oh, come on. Think I can find my white? I had like the world's biggest tube of white and it just disappeared on me. There we go. There's a big tube of white. This will do. Yeah, I'm one of those lucky people. My hobby is literally watching paint dry. I got a little better. Oh, it's a little closer to what I wanted there. Back off, Cat. No, you do not just play with the water. I will take it away from you. And yeah, I almost always paint with music on. This is Fugazi from Marillion, which I think is their first album. It's either first or second. I can never remember which order they came out in back in the ancient history of the band. Anyway, let's see. Try that blue for a little bit in here. Well, that's going to be even more green. That's all right. It'll work. I'm just blocking in some color mess. So I don't really care at this stage if the color is exactly right, as long as it's kind of approximately what I want, because I'm just trying to get stuff off the keyboard. Just trying to get stuff roughly blocked in, masked in, get a sense of how it all is going to fit together, and I hope make a painting at the end of it. And you can see that this looks exactly like what it's going to be when it's finished. No problem at all seeing exactly where this painting is going to go. You can see the nice little forest, the happy trees, the campground. No, none of that. That's not at all what this is, but I've gotten used to going through the stages where the painting doesn't look like anything for quite a while. That's why I do sketches ahead, though, is then I can just daub in like this without worrying about it, because I've got that sketch to look at and tell me what it's actually going to turn into at the end of the process.
Dave, what was your inspiration for this sketch that you started?
The inspiration for this particular piece was Peter Gabriel's song, Here Comes the Flood.
Oh, right on. You shared that
Yeah.
link earlier, so we'll have to share that.
Yeah.
When we share,
which is actually from a dream he had about apparently about everybody suddenly developing the ability to read minds. He writes some interesting music.
Oh man, I just started watching this show on YouTube, on Hulu, called Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, and it's kind of like that, where she starts being able to read people's minds, but they sing to her. It's really
interesting.
It's pretty goofy. Yeah.
So this is sort of loosely, this is inspired by that song, but like a lot of them do, it kind of takes on its own life when I start drawing and painting and sketching. And sometimes, like this one, I'll have a title or an idea, before I start the painting, and sometimes I'll have a finished painting and then I'll be like, okay, now what do I call this thing? That especially happens when I'm out painting landscapes.
John Burbridge was saying that yesterday about his poems, that a lot of the times he doesn't have a title for it, but he'll either just not title it at all, or he'll maybe come up with some title at a later date.
Yeah, the paintings get titles when they're finished, just because I need something to call them so I can find them and know which one is which. For an awful lot of the landscapes, they get really, really beautifully poetic titles, like Tucker Farm or Mount St. Regis over Heron Marsh. Just, sheer beautiful poetry. But mostly it's, this is where I was when I painted this thing, so that's what I'm calling it.
Right on. You don't just...
And I strongly
Untitled
suspect
too.
that a lot of famous paintings in art history were actually named by some poor cataloging clerk at the art museum. Still life with silver bowl and peaches. Because I gotta call it something.
Do you usually put the title of a piece, if it has a title, on the back of your canvas or something like that?
Yeah, I'll put the titles on the back.
Yeah.
And usually sign them on the back, because I don't always like the look of my signature on the front, so I'll sign them on the back. I've had people complain that I don't sign on the front. And I will if somebody really wants me to, but I'll grab a Sharpie or something and scrawl across the front of it, but I'd rather sign on the back. And 16 by 20 for me is absolutely god-awful huge. I usually paint, 8 by 10 and down. Some 9 by 12. And I do watercolors down to about 2.5 by 3.5, which is the size of a baseball card. Love working that size. Just so much fun doing the small little paintings like that. And I can get a heck of a lot of detail into them. Just, you got to be patient and use brushes that come to a fine point. I don't even always use small brushes. I use a lot of, one of my go-to brushes is a 1/2 inch flat, which on a painting that's, 2.5 inches, a half-inch flat seems enormous, but it comes to a nice crisp edge. And then I have a number, it's like a 14 sable. Huge, huge brush, but I love that brush because same thing, it comes to a really nice, really, really nice fine point, and it holds paint forever and ever. It's from one of my favorite brush makers, Rosemary and Company in England. They're in Yorkshire, and I'm going to give them a plug just because I really like them. I've met Rosemary. I've met her daughter, Simi, who does a lot of the marketing and business work for them. They are lovely, lovely folks. They make really, really wonderful brushes. And for handmade sable brushes, their watercolor brushes are really reasonable. They do oil brushes too and acrylic, and we'll make custom brushes if you want something very specific. Shoot them an email and talk, and they will make a brush for you to your specifications if you really have something you really seriously need. And they're just, like I say, they're just lovely people, and they ship fast, and they're still open despite COVID. So I can get my brushes. Yay. That's what I use for watercolor, and I love them. I wasn't sure at first, bought just a couple. Cindy suggested, well, why don't you just try a couple? I did, and that was it. I was in love. So I was in love, and I've been using their brushes for watercolor ever since. For acrylics, though, I just use these are cheap, I don't know, Walmart or something brushes, because acrylics tend to tear up brushes, at least for me. So I don't see the point in using expensive brushes if they're just going to get chewed up. And I have a friend who feels the same way. He does great big, 3x3, 4-foot canvases, and he does a lot of work with 99-cent chip brushes from the hardware store. Because he likes the marks they make, and they're cheap enough that he doesn't care what happens to them. When he uses them up, when he wears them out, when they dry out, whatever, he just tosses them and grabs another one because, hey, it was 99 cents. So, anyone who thinks, oh, I have to have the most expensive art supplies ever to do art, or I just can't produce anything worthwhile. Nope. He'll do canvases that'll sell for, a couple $1,000s, and he'll do them with a 99-cent hardware store chip brush. So you don't need expensive equipment if you don't want it. I mean, it can be nice sometimes, but it really depends on what you're doing, what you're trying to get out of your tools. What do you need? You don't always need expensive. See what works for you. I know a guy who did a lot of illustration work, and he just used regular craft paint acrylics.
We're definitely gonna have to talk about this in more detail, Dave. We're definitely gonna have to talk about this in more detail, Dave, when we have more when we're closer to our art center.
Yeah.
The North Country Art Center. I'm gonna hopefully send some stuff out about that next week and update people on what's happening. But part of the intention is in the retail store to have some supplies and have a range of high end to lower cost kinds of supplies. So you won't have to go to Walmart. You can go somewhere local.
Yeah, you can go to the Arts Council, even better.
Woo.
Where all the staff are artists. Maggie didn't know she was going to have to take painting lessons, did she?
I don't think I signed up for that one, but this is pretty cool.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the staff when we tell them they got to start taking painting lessons and ceramics lessons, because they're going to be, teaching and.
I don't know.
I don't know. Somehow I don't think that'll go over so well.
No, I think all of us have put our time in and continue to put our time into our own art form.
Yeah. No, I'm certainly not going to expect anybody to take up yet another art form that they're really not moved by. It definitely,
I can barely draw a stick figure.
Yeah. But then there's my simple 3-step program to be a fantastic artist.
There you go.
You follow this program, you will become a fantastic artist.
Whoa.
Step 1, make some art. Step 2, make some more art. Step 3, keep making art. If you follow that simple 3-step plan, you too will be a fantastic artist. That's all you have to do is make some art.
I'm definitely taking that clip out.
And if you go to some of the art museums, you go to Tate Modern or somewhere like that, and you look at some of what's on the walls in really prestigious art museums, and the museum bought it for, you know, the worth of the town of Potsdam combined, you think, I could have done that. In fact, some of it you'll look at and think, I could have done better than that with my eyes closed. So I really do mean it that anybody can make great art. Just make art and put your heart and soul into it, and somebody will like it, even if it's only you. Somebody will like it.
I totally agree.
And there are times when the pieces I was going to consign to the dustbin of history, never to be seen again by anyone, somebody caught a glimpse of them and said, wow, I want that. And my reaction is always the same. It's that? That's the one you want? Out of all the stuff I've got, you want that one? But, you know, don't talk them out of it. If that's really the one they want, you know, every piece of art I think has a home. Somebody's going to like it. Somebody's going to say, that's the one I want. So don't worry about it. Don't worry if you're good or horrible or whatever. Just make art and have fun with it. To me, the point of art is to have fun making it. Play with it. Have fun with the materials. I mean, this is just a little bit of paint in a canvas panel. So, you know, if it doesn't work, whatever. With acrylics, I can paint over it. With oils, I can scrape it off. With watercolor, I can paint on the backside. And with watercolor, anyway, it's just a sheet of paper. So, you know, at worst, I'm out a sheet of paper. And I just do another piece. Take maybe what I learned about what didn't work and try to make new mistakes in the next painting. Find a new way that doesn't work. But just have fun playing with it. You know, I think Bob Ross did the art world a great service when he told people that, you know, anybody can have fun making art. There's a lot of people that, you know, they get down on Bob, but I think some of that's jealousy that Bob is popular and made art accessible and they didn't. But all you got to do to make art is make art. And this looks, I mean, really honestly, at this stage in the game, this painting looks absolutely terrible. It looks like it's not going to be.
I think it looks super cool.
It looks like it's not going to be anything. And that's okay, because I know that this is the very early stages where I'm just sort of slapping in, trying to get some of the color relationships, trying to get some idea of where different pieces are going to be. And it's going to get detailed and detailed and layered and layered. My last one this size took me, I think, the better part of a month to finish. Now, some of that was because some days I only got about 5 minutes of painting time in. Just life. And other days I got quite a bit of painting time in. But they go and they take time. And somebody once told me, every painting goes through the ugly stage. So don't panic when you're in the middle of a painting and it looks like the ugliest thing you've ever seen. Don't panic. It might just be in the ugly stage and it'll come out the other side. And sometimes they don't quite successfully make it out the other side of the ugly stage. But if you don't keep pressing on when you hit the ugly stage, you're never going to know if this painting is going to come out the other side and be beautiful or is going to stay ugly forever. You got to keep working through it and say, okay, yeah, every painting goes through the ugly stage. It's just part of the process, is that ugly stage.
Dave, how much time do you usually spend painting each day, like on average?
On average, I would say I get in at least half an hour, 45 minutes every day. I've sort of set myself since 1st of January, actually, maybe even a little before January, but definitely starting the 1st of January, I set myself the goal of doing art and preferably painting at least a little bit every day. And I'll admit, there have been a couple of days when that's been 3 strokes of watercolor on the painting at 11:30 at night, because that was all I had time to do. But so far, every day this year, I have done at least a little bit of art and painting, enough to say, yeah, technically I got it. I got my time in. I did a little art. And it is making a jump in my art. I really am getting much better. You know, it's like a musician doing scales. You do scales, what, every day you practice, just because it keeps you in that mindset.
If you have that goal to practice every day, then you practice your scales every day.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I do every day, sadly.
Yeah, well, you know, I and like I say, some days it's literally brushstroke, 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 and that's it for the day.
Yeah. I think I need to set that goal. I'm going to pick up my violin and do something every single day.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
You know,
it really does make a difference.
And there are days when it really is that technically I did something, so I'm good. Just don't expect it to actually come out to be anything, but it keeps me going and it keeps me working. And sometimes then I'll get in the zone, I'll pick something up and I'll just think I'm just going to do a little bit, and I'll get in the zone, and next thing I know, I've got a finished painting. So, you know, inspiration should find you working. Oh, come on. Oh, I know why that's getting all slanty weird. It's because I'm at a weird angle to it. But that's all right. I might even leave it a little wonky weird. I don't know yet. We'll see when I come to actually, like, finish. I like to work all over a painting. I know there's some artists that will paint, you know, they'll take this little corner and get it done perfect, and then the next little bit. I like to kind of work all over the painting because that gives me a sense of how it's working, how it's coming together, how it's going to look when it's finished, and a chance to make any corrections if I need to, because every now and then I'll find, I had one, the last one I did, I got a fair chunk of it done, or I thought was, you know, done from my sketch, which I'd blown up to 16 by 20 from like a 5 by 7. And I got looking at it and I was like, this just doesn't look right. There were big empty spaces in the composition that didn't work, didn't balance. The colors were a little initially too solidly even. So I went through and dirtied up the background, scumbled it up, added a couple of elements, and it really made a difference. And, you know, it was one of those, turn it face to the wall, walk away from it for a few days, then come back and look at it with fresh eyes. And I'll often, like when I'm painting outside, I'll often, you know, back up away from the easel, turn around, go look at something else for a couple of minutes, then quick turn around and look at what's out, look at my painting. Because sometimes looking at that with those fresh eyes, when you haven't been just like staring at it for hours, you notice things you didn't notice before. You see things you could do better, things that aren't working, things that are brilliant that you didn't realize were brilliant. That's always nice when that happens. And you're like, oh, I like that. And yeah, it's getting there. Starting to look like a little bit of a painting, I guess. Just a touch of color just to just so it has a little color in it, a little life. In watercolor, I have black, but I almost never use it. And I have gray and almost never use that either. I generally will mix all my watercolor darks from scratch, because I just like the way they look better. So I have a lot of my darks are really, when you really look at them, they're really, really, really dark purples or really deep greens or blues. And they just, I think they work better that way. Black watercolor paint just looks dead. Just looks kind of, just has that dead look to it that doesn't work in watercolor. It works in acrylics and oils brilliantly. I mean, I don't use a lot of black. I think that big areas of black just, they're not that interesting. So almost anything I paint, in fact, I don't think big flat areas of just solid color are all that interesting. So I'll put some variation into all my big color fields. I got a chance to see a couple of Mark Rothko's paintings in person, and let me tell you, if you ever get a chance to see a Rothko in person, you will understand why Rothko is regarded as brilliant, ever so much better than you ever will just looking at pictures of his paintings in books, because books just don't capture them. He's got layers and layers and scribbles and pieces showing through, and you know, so when you see them in person, they have a depth and a life and a texture to them that they just can't show in a book. In a book, it just looks like, yeah, it's this red canvas. Yeah, so what? Boring. I could have done that. Just grab a can of red paint and a brush, and there you go. But in person, they're exciting. They're interesting. So I try to do that with these. Like, you look in here, there's all little reds and yellows and oranges all kind of mixing together, because I think that's much more interesting than just red, orange, yellow. I think it's much more interesting to have those little mixing bands and splotches and bits of color in there. And I do that in watercolor. I love watercolor for that, because in watercolor I can take really wet paint and then I can drop other wet paint into it and just let it mix and push around and get some really nice effects that I haven't quite figured out. I gotta get some pouring medium or something so I can try that in acrylics and try getting them to that same, you know, liquid mixing with each other. Although here I can do it with a dry, like scumbling one color over another. I can get that kind of same effect. Just get there from a different direction. Now, where did I put the
Matt and I have tested out some well, yeah, I guess acrylic pouring with Floetrol or something like that. And he likes playing with epoxy resin too, so he's made a couple of that. It's fun.
That sounds fun.
And I know Chris Roselle does that. Chris isn't on the call anymore, but she'll do some of that with us on a video sometime soon.
Yeah, I'd love to see some of her setting paintings on fire.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I hear about that, and I want to see it. That sounds really fun.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm going to scumble a little bit of a color I discovered that I love called unbleached titanium. It's this wonderful light, sandy, beigey, I don't know, color. I really like it because it gives you a nice sort of sandy, beigey kind of look. And then I just scumble that over the yellow ochre, and it just pops a little more life into it. Start popping some life into these things. I don't want just flat color. I want some life in it. And my edges are getting all messy and overlapping, and I haven't quite decided where the actual edges of some of these bits are going to be, which is one of the reasons why I'm letting them kind of color outside the lines, is that way when I come back over, that way when I come back over, they look good. That way I can My kids are having trouble ordering pizza and want me to call them. So have you mute my mic in a second while I make the call, but I'll keep painting with the other hand.
I think your camera might have. Oh.
Did it drift? Oh, yeah, it did. There.
Shifted just a little bit, but it's
there we go. We'll shift that back onto the exciting beautiness that is. Actually, that does look pretty good on camera now that I look at the screen.
It does.
I like it. That's the other trick I'll do sometimes is I'll take a photograph of the painting and then look at it on a screen instead of looking at the actual painting. I'll look at it on a screen, and then I can also do tricks like turning it upside down and flipping it mirror image and things like that. Anything to give me a different view of it, so I'm seeing it how it looks from a different angle, because then you see different things in it, and it stops your head from going, okay, this is the tree and this is the barn and this is the horse. When you flip it around all weird ways, you don't quite see that. You don't know what the things are supposed to be. You just see, okay, this is a big area of red, this is some green, this is some blue, this doesn't look balanced right. It forces you to just look at the painting as what's in it, not as a painting of something. And that can really help spot errors. As is having somebody else who doesn't know anything about what you're trying to do in the painting look at it and just saying, hey, what do you think of this? And hopefully they don't say, I think this sucks. But it definitely can help to have somebody else take a look at your painting and say, I think this is off. That's lighter than I thought. Yeah, maybe just a touch of this. And I talk to my paint. Yeah, let's try that. All right. Let's see if I can get the pizza place. And of course, they're busy. So I have a suggestion for the girls.
Well, Dave, I think that we've been almost 50 minutes at this point. We can probably cut it at this point. And why don't you keep on working on it and send us a picture of it at the end, and we'll share that.
I will for sure send the finished product.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is going to be...
I think that we're in a good spot, though.
You can see why it took me a month to do the last one this size.
Oh, totally. I absolutely get it.
Because there's just, especially with the big area, it takes building up lots of layers. If it was an 8x10, if I was doing it in watercolor, it would have been done by now. In acrylics, it probably wouldn't be done, but 16x20, it takes a long time to just to cover that much canvas.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I haven't even touched up here or touched down in this corner yet. I know what's going there. I just haven't gotten it in yet.
I feel it. Well, you had some really fun notes there that...
Yeah.
Charlotte? Please. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm a little intruder here. We had some really fun things that you said earlier.
Yeah.
We could have some little bites of comments and ideas. Those are something that we can pull out too.
Yeah.
So I think that I'm just gonna, if it's okay with you, I think I'll just do an outro and we'll close up shop and you continue working on your.
Yeah, sounds good, Meg.
Good. Awesome.
My brush. There it is.
Let me make sure my video looks all right. I have no idea what my video looks like. There we go. All right. Well, here is Dave Crowell. We've had almost 50 minutes of watching him paint this beautiful piece. He's going to keep on working on it for some time, and he'll share the finished product with us at a later time. We will be putting this video up so people can watch him paint and talk to him about all sorts of things. But thank you so much, Dave, for showing us your work and talking to us about your process. This has been so much fun.
Oh,
And
sure. I love it.
yeah, so I hope y'all will join us next week. We have some really cool other people joining us. Kayla French is going to be sharing some poetry with us. And we also have Thomas Novosel will be doing some drawing exercises. And Camilla Amirati will be playing banjo for us at some point. So I hope y'all will check that out and join us next time. Well, I'm going to end the meeting at this point, but have a great weekend and happy painting.
Yeah, have a great weekend, everybody.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.